Hey everybody, it's Gypsy. So today I have a question for you. Do you do magic? Think before you answer that, because you are doing magic, whether you realize it or not. So you know what? I always tell you guys, um, we come from the Creator, Source God. We are actually a piece of Source God. We are all spirits who are currently incarnated. Because of this, we have abilities and powers we're not aware of. And so we are magical. We are magical beings, and magical beings do magical things. And we do it all the time, whether we realize it or not. It is so much in our nature, we don't even realize we're doing it. So this brings me to the point of, well, what is prayer? When you pray, you are literally putting an intention out into the universe, okay? And yes, we are co-creators with Source God, our higher selves, or what I refer to as our souls. And we all create together too. But on a personal level, when we put our intention out there through prayer, it goes out into the universe. Our soul obviously hears it, and so does Source God. And depending on the intensity of this prayer, it comes to fruition. So what I mean by intensity is, how sincere are you about this? How motivated? How determined? And the universe does pick up on this, okay? So if it is a very sincere intention, there is a collaboration to make it come to pass. So, even we pray, whether it's intentional or not. If you think you're not a praying person, I'm going to tell you you're wrong about that. You may not be doing it formally, okay? There is, formal prayer. But your thoughts, and your words are very powerful. Okay, so even if you're not formally praying, what you're thinking about, your desires, everything come together to put intentions out into the universe, which is what those who pray formally, they call it prayer. We're all doing it all the time. So we are creative beings. So what we're thinking about, what we are either desiring or even our greatest fear, if you focus on a fear so much, you can make it come to pass, because the universe, when you think about that much, it might start to believe you want it, and it could come to pass. It is not Source God's, I don't want to say job, to protect us from our own thoughts, okay? I think part of this process of focusing on fears and then they come to fruition, I think could be sources, and I could be wrong about this. I could. This is just a thought I'm having. Source's way of teaching us. Watch what you're focusing on. Because if you focus on it, the universe thinks you want it. Source isn't going to really intervene all that much. It's kind of like, well, you learn something from everything, be it what we perceive as good or bad. Even evil. When I look and see what's going on in the world today, we can learn from this evil that is going on. And I feel because it's happening, too many were focusing on it, whether they were for it or against it. Whatever you focus on grows, and that is prayer. And we are so magical that we can and do make this happen all the time. So for those of you who are in what I'm going to say formal religions, and you pray intentionally, that is magic. You are connecting, well, one, with the spirit realm, but you're connecting, more importantly, with the spirit, the soul, the source of all that is. You're intentionally doing. If that's not magic, I don't know what is. To me, that's the highest form of magic. You pray to God, to source, however you refer to our Creator. Well, you're connecting to the top. You are. And you don't need a go-between. I know a lot of people do believe you do. You don't. You are part and parcel of Source God, so you don't need a go-between. So, I mean, think about that. That is divine magic. When you connect to the original, all that is, and all that ever will be, that is powerful magic. Okay? So, even in our everyday lives, people who aren't spiritual, people who are not religious, whatever, and don't intentionally pray, they actually are. When they are thinking, focusing on something, whether it be a fear or a desire, depending on the intensity, it will come to pass, or it can come to pass. So we all are magical beings. We have more power than what we have been led to believe. I believe there was a time in human history where people did know their power, and it was brainwashed out of us. Okay? So we have forgotten it, but many are bringing it back. Their memories are coming back, their spiritual memories, like we spoke about a couple days ago. Okay? There was one memory, spiritual memory I had. This was very weird. My second husband, we met at the church we went to. The first time I saw him, now at the time I didn't know anything about this stuff, and I couldn't figure out where this thought came from. We looked at each other, and we stared at each other for a second, and I thought to myself, there you are. I've been waiting. I didn't think you'd show up. And I was like, wait, Michelle, what are you thinking? Where'd that come from? That was a spiritual memory. Pretty much, I think every incarnation, we have a relationship in one form or another. And we had made plans for this incarnation of ours. And I was waiting. So that was another spiritual memory. He and I did bring this about magically, as we all do. Except when we so-called prayed or put our intention out there about that, we did it before we incarnated into these lives. So that also, you pray when you are fully in spirit too. Always remember, you are a spirit in a body at the moment. And then after you leave this life, you're all spirit. So we have that power, we have that magic. So you're always doing magic whether you realize it or not. I mean, I'm sure we all have instances in our lives where, and I know I have several, where we think of something we want, and it may seem outlandish, like with me becoming a nomad and living on the road as a single woman in my mid to late 50s. I never dreamed I would have done it, and then when I did dream it, I mean, it was like, wow. It's something you would think to come to pass, but it did, at least in my life, the way my life was. And it did, okay? So we are creating these things, okay? And although it doesn't seem magical here because this is a physical realm, it is. And it does take much longer here than in heaven or the spirit realm, whichever you'd like to call it, whatever you call it. We're still doing it because we still got it. We still got it because we are spirits. We still have that magic, and we use it so much, and without even thinking, because that's our natural state, we don't realize we're doing it. Okay? So you are praying at all times. I I think having that awareness that you are doing it and you are that magical being who can create these things, having that awareness and doing it consciously at all times, I believe is what Jesus may have been saying when he was talking about pray at all times. I don't think he meant formally. That would be difficult to do in your everyday life. But in your consciousness, to have those intentions and desires put out there. Pray without ceasing. That's what you're doing. And you have to realize you're doing it so you're, focusing on the right things. So anyways, yes, we are magical beings and we do magical things, everyone. I'm going to leave you with that. Blessed be and make it a joyful one.